Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti. Today is a special day. Unlike other days when I dive into an issue, today I have a person specific whom I'm particularly delighted to welcome. He's a dentist and he's entering politics, and he's not going to be a politician. Does it feel interesting enough to talk to him? I have great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Dan Alter. Dan Alter is a dentist and he's contesting for legislature's position for District 16 in Long Island. And I'm delighted to have you here for more reasons than one. Politics has become a very interesting profession.
Indeed.
And as I always say, that this is a profession which I admire a lot. I have a lot of admiration for people who enter politics. Because that's a job not everybody can do. And that's why politicians are revered as well as respected. And then people are very angry with politicians as well. Both goes at the same time. And the reason for that is a very interesting description that we have in our back home in India in the Hindu philosophy. There's a beautiful word, which there is no English translation for that. We call it untranslatables. Untranslatables, right? That word is Ardha Satya. It's a very deep philosophy in us. Sometime we will explain to you about that. But literally translated, it means half truths. Politicians always live in the world of their own truth, and nothing wrong in it. The rest of the people who are the voters, they decide whose truth they buy. And to that end, it is a real challenge for people who are in politics to fulfill the dreams, aspirations, and hopes and anxieties of their constituents or the people who are going to vote for them. So welcome, Dan. Welcome to this show. And I would like you to share with us your thought as to how a person who is a professional in digital dentistry entering politics and doesn't want to call himself a politician.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Vibhuti. Really appreciate it. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here and speaking with you. It's really, truly remarkable. So as far as me, I mean, certainly, for me, it is personal. My campaign is all about this, as you might imagine. It's not about politics, because it really is not. It's all about people, and to see how it is that I can affect change to make the entire community thrive and all the residents for it. So with that said, I'm running for Nassau County Legislator in District 16, which is comprised of Old Bethpage, Plainview, all of Jericho, all of Old Westbury, Roslyn Heights, as well as North Hicksville, South Syosset, and South Woodbury. So, and it's obviously it's a district within the Nassau County in Long Island, New York. And what the importance of it is, I came here, quite honestly, what it all came about, this is an opportunity that was presented to me, and seeing what is happening in the world, seeing what is happening specifically in New York, seeing what is occurring or trying to occur here in Nassau County and Long Island is what made me stand up and take on this candidacy. Because you see, I came here as an immigrant with my family, with my parents and my sister, and at the age of 10. And, I'm that poster child, American dream kind of, benefit, which is I'm very incredibly grateful for it. When we came here, it's the land of opportunity. I was, I had the highest caliber of education. I continued on with my education to become a professional. And, my family and I have fortified a good life. And it's an opportunity that now serving those that we in our community. So, but the trouble is, and the reason why I really stood up for the candidacy is because the American dream, and what I believe is the American dream, I think is breaking down right in front of our very eyes with some of the policies that we are witnessing here in Long Island, as well as in New York, and certainly nationally. And it's something that, I think is of dire consequences for our future and our children. And what do I mean by that? So for one, the suburban quality of life that we all enjoy here in Long Island, that's been accomplished by years and years of folks that are hardworking, that have paid their taxes and really have thrived in it. Over the last few years, the opportunities significantly with the suburban quality of life that I think is being threatened in a big way, for first and foremost is certainly taxes. Taxes have become unsustainable and unaffordable in many instances. I speak to so many residents and so many constituents within our district, and it's truly heartbreaking what I'm hearing, because you have the whole gamma of everything that we see here. For one, I spent time with a senior community center, and the story kept repeating one after another, where you have individuals, professionals, parents, grandparents that have worked tirelessly their whole lives for the sake of their family, and they paid into taxes in our neighborhood, in our area, for 30, 40 years. And, they've gotten to the golden age of retirement. And now they're facing a dilemma, multiple-sided dilemma, that is really heartbreaking. Number one, if they remain on Social Security and don't have other opportunities, they're finding their taxes in homes that have been already paid off unsustainable, or unaffordable, that they are now in a position where do they have to sell their homes that they've lived in and raised their family for 30 to 40 years. On the other side, the heartbreaking conversations that I'm having is that these same individuals are now seeing that their children or their grandchildren, or both, are finding it unsustainable to be able to afford a home here on Long Island, and specifically the taxes. So now their kids or their grandkids are looking elsewhere to relocate to different states where things are more affordable, where there's greater opportunity. And it puts them in a really precarious predicament as to, do they leave their beloved home that they've worked so hard for 30 to 40 years in order to relocate with their kids and grandkids? Or do they live without their kids and grandkids? And I can certainly tell you, I live for my family. I live for my kids. So I can't imagine ever needing or being in a predicament like that, where it's a choice of my home or my kids. Obviously, we know where the choice for each one lies, but to be placed in that situation, especially after being a hardworking individual that has been law-abiding, that has been paying their taxes, that has contributed to societies, contributed to the community for so many years, have built what I consider the community, to be placed in that predicament is certainly, unacceptable and should not occur. So my goal is to be able to fight those taxes. There are opportunities to provide our residents with relief for taxes. And certainly we can speak to that more.
Absolutely. This is a very important point. You talked about the family, and you talked about the fact that the taxes are too high. And as a resident of Nassau County, I'm feeling the same way.
Right.
I'm great pleasure in welcoming Mr. Mukesh Modi, who has fulfilled his commitment to Rotary Club and has joined us. Mukeshji, just to let you know that Dan and I started the conversation exactly 5 minutes ago, knowing full well that we will initiate the conversation, paucity of time and commitments, and I knew you will join us. So welcome back to the show. I would put it that way. You are on the mute, Mukesh, as yet.
Yes.
And so that's great. And for the viewers, Mukesh Modi is an entrepreneur, a community activist who is caring for both countries, America and India. And he's a very committed individual, and I like him for the simple reason that he always stands up for what he believes in. So Mukesh, when you unmute yourself, then I'm coming to you.
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Dan mentioned about how the taxes and things like that he has been inspired to. But I'm going back to Dan again, is that, you have some very interesting thoughts about suburban way of life, and the communities and how the economic life must get better. Nassau County is already one of the topmost counties in the country. And we know, as a student of economics and banking, I know that taxes are always required to be paid for public service.
Indeed.
So areas which in Nassau County, the suburban life is very good, no doubt about that. No wonder people want to come here. So the point which I'm requesting for you to address is, which part of the economic life, what new economic tools that the Nassau County needs, for which the people either have to pay taxes, or if they have paid enough taxes, because I recall you mentioning in one of the conversations some time ago on a Zoom call that Nassau County had collected over $120 million of extra in taxes. Now, how does that happen? How come people didn't know? How come the representatives didn't tell that the general public was paying more in taxes, that the government has that money, they are earning interest on that, and people have lost out the opportunity to create the multiplier effect of their own savings? It's a very important question, and that's where the government responsibility comes in. So this one, and how did a dentist think about becoming a politician? That's a question which I always ask. I like to know from you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Certainly, as you stated, Nassau County currently has $120 million and a little bit more of surplus. And the surplus is, quite frankly, is your money. It's my money. It's all the residents' money. And what happens is, as you mentioned, it's the surplus allows to accumulate interest, and therefore, the families don't get to benefit from the multiplier effect. And I agree with that financially and economically, but certainly if you think of the family traditions and the family values, though that $120 million should have stayed in each one of our pockets, because what that does is it then allows us to treat the life of our family even that much better, meaning that you can go out to entertainment, you can go out to restaurants, you can invest into your family experience for tighter bonds, whereby if you're paying taxes, obviously that is no longer a part of your family kind of ecosystem. So there's a greater loss, certainly the multiplier, as you mentioned, certainly the interest that the government is garnering from the surplus, as well as a greater loss of the family experience, which all comes into our suburban quality of life. And that's really important to me. The traditional family, the community family values is what's really steadfast of what the emphasis of what it is that I'm running. And as to how does somebody in the dental space become a politician, that's exactly seeing the policies that are out there, seeing the individuals that are pushing certain policies and certain agendas that does not align to me with logic, to me with what is future of our community to thrive not only today, but for generations to come. So one of them is certainly, the conversation about defunding the police, which makes absolutely no sense to me at all. And I'll share with you why. Defunding the police certainly is the narrative that is out there in the media and that's been pushed by some politicians is purely a narrative, because in reality, the best way I can give an example is if their narrative is to fight crime, you defund the police, then logically you can also assimilate to what in the times of COVID, as we're still very much in the midst of the pandemic, but certainly the last 16 to 18 months, our heroes, our first responders were the first ones there to help us in our lives. Now, imagine the narrative, which is the same as what the narrative of defunding the police is, to say, well, COVID cases are spiking. What we should do is we should have less medical personnel, and therefore the cases of COVID are going to go away. To me, that makes absolutely no sense at all. If anything, for public safety, to keep our families and our children and our loved ones out of harm's way, more an emphasis on supporting our police, so that more opportunity to create synergies with the community, because in reality, they're there to serve and protect our community. And if the connection is not there, if the community feels that they're not in their best interest, I think it's just a losing proposition for everyone. The support and the emphasis on being able to provide safety for all is what keeps us, and again, going back to the suburban quality of life, keeps us sleeping at night, resting, knowing that we're not going to be in harm's way, that there will be people, first responders, that are truly, in all respects, are heroes in this world, that they will be there to protect us. Because in reality, it takes a special kind of person to run into a situation that everybody else is running out of. So those people is what I consider truly and wholeheartedly our heroes. They protect us and they continue to make sure that we have, and again, I put the EMTs, the firemen, the police into that category, the medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, and so on, into that heroes, because they literally touch lives every single day. And it's important to embrace that and understand that. And that's a big part of our suburban quality of life and what we enjoy here in Nassau County. And we have to make sure that that doesn't change, because we don't have to look too far at the chaos of the policies. Just look 10 miles west into New York City. You can see that those policies have really degraded in a big way the community, to the point that it became back to the 90s era, where it was dangerous to go into Manhattan sometimes, because, and you know, whether it's dangerous or not, there's that sense of insecurity coming in, where quite honestly, prior to these policies wasn't felt, but now here we are again.
Very well said indeed, because you echoed some of my concerns and you gave the illustration of a city 10 miles away to our west, New York City, which is where I landed in 1991. And I know exactly how wretched were the conditions in New York City then. It took a Republican mayor, Giuliani, to fix the problem, which was continued by Mayor Bloomberg. And lo and behold, today, to me, I mean, many people would not have seen that or experienced that, but I did. I see New York City slipping back to the same old, same old. That's a truly pathetic one. And I'm all for every warrior of every category who is a frontline warrior in the given situation. Doctors become a frontline warriors. Firefighters are a frontline warriors. And all these people need support and help, not being accused of being what they are not, in my opinion. A stray case does not make the whole basket a bad basket, you know. That's very important for normal public to understand from the hullabaloo of the narrative or the arguments that are built by people who want to defund police. But defunding the police, weakening the army is something which is a very new trend in America, whereby I see something more deep and underlying, is to weaken the society by the very factors who are supposed to protect and defend assets and life. This is truly tragic. Mukeshji, you are a resident of Nassau County, just as I am. How do you feel today being here after as many years of being here? What improvements Nassau County needs, for which we need candidates like Dan to be in the forefront of that battle? What changes do you want to see happen, or what changes that are happening are disturbing you? You are muted, you are mute, you are again on mute. Yes.
First of all, thank you, Vibhuti ji, to invite me on your amazing channel. And also Dan is there with us, and it's my honor and privilege to be in your channel,
Thank you.
And thank you to viewers.
You mean my show. Thank you. I'm just kidding. I have a habit of,
That's fine.
Yeah,
so anyway, so see, definitely, because the Nassau County is one of the best county in entire US. The per capita income or safety, even the police protection, which comes to the one of the best police protection in Nassau County. Definitely, our officers are doing an amazing job. But the way the things are happening, as just Dad mentioned about the defunding the police. Now, defunding the police plus giving away the money and the giving away the to the people free food. So I believe as that you don't give free fish. You should teach the people how to catch a fish. I mean, that's what I believe in. So right now, what's happening in even in Nassau County, a lot of things are giving away free. Maybe that $120 million surplus what they have, maybe they want to throw the money, and those money is belongs to the residents. Those money the people who are paying the taxes. And what's going to happen? They need more money. Automatically, the tax is going to be the increase. They should rather spend the money on the business or to develop the economy, not to just give away the money. Because what, as per my opinion, what they're trying to do is they're building the voting bank. They're getting the all illegal people, bringing the people in so they can vote for them, and giving them all the free food, the free shelter. We work so hard even to pay the rent, and they're getting everything free. So that's what's happening. The free. That's what it bothers me, because what you're doing as defunding the police or weakening the country, the weakening the power, which is not good for going forward. And they want to keep the West, as per my opinion, they want to keep everybody, keep it them on the lower line or the poor line, where they can always remain poor and they always depend on them. So they don't want anybody to get into the power. So what if they want to just keep this country forever?
No, you have definitely expressed a valid concern, because there is a thing, very famous phrase around the world. It's called the American dream.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people don't miss out on American dream is to become a multimillionaire. Having a Ferrari and a beachfront house in the Hamptons is not American dream. That is also doable and achievable, and many do that. Nothing wrong in it. But the classic definition of American dream is a life of respect and dignity, that everybody can come, work hard, make a living, take advantage of the opportunity. You are your own best opportunity. And that opportunity that people desire, which they don't have it in many countries they come from, is the dream that I call the classic middle class dream. That I come there, I work hard and do that. But then that dream is one thing which seems to be shattered. And that is very important from another consideration. The cost of education has become prohibitively high. And that's where there is another important linkage here, which I find is troublesome. Because nothing comes in the world free. This is the country that taught me there is no free lunch.
Correct.
So how is it that Democratic Party is able to get by things free? Free education to even illegal people to have community college access. It's a great human gesture. But here I find is that Republicans are at a clash with a very significant election mode. Democrats are operating on emotion and sentiments. And that appeals to the voting public. When you say that I'll give you for free, you don't have to worry, it appeals to the basic core of sympathy and humanitarianism. When Republicans are talking about logic and hard work, who cares for logic if I'm getting something for free, right?
Right.
And that's the bigger challenge that the Republican Party has on its hand. How do you tackle that enormous challenge when you are telling somebody, work hard and you will get your reward, vis-a-vis basic minimum income concept that the Democrats are bringing in, which is a remarkable socialist ideology.
It is.
You have no other group of people who can vouch here that socialism doesn't work, and that is we Indians. And I can give you a very interesting experience, which is what brought me here. I left a high quality paying job in the government sector to move into private sector at the risk of being fired. But I took that risk because I wanted to fulfill my dream. So going forward, I find that politicians in this country are not appreciating the tectonic shift brought about by technology, which has enabled us to talk in the COVID times in 3 different locations live and in the same time. This conversation I have on my TV with people in England, people in Geneva, in India, and California. So we are connected like that. Politicians are not realizing that people are watching. So let me give you three examples. When I came here in 1991, I have been hearing politicians make promises. Now people can hold politicians accountable. Think about it, that when George W. Bush said, "Read my lips, no more taxes," it got repeated ad infinitum on the TV. He seemed a liar. When Obamacare was passed, Nancy Pelosi said, "We will read the bill when it is passed." When 9/11 happened, Patriot Act was passed within 7 days. And I said, wow, what a great job our legislators are doing, that they got the bill ready and passed. You're having $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, which people know there is so much pork in it. My point is, how do politicians establish and remove the trust deficit that exists about them?
Well, I can certainly speak to that. One, my idea is really, it's what is logical as well as what is emotional. When you combine the two, if you're speaking from the heart, if you're speaking from the mind, as things make sense, you're walking the walk, you live in the community as I do in my District 16, the same pain points, the same challenges that the residents feel are the ones that my family and I feel. That's where the line changes, because it becomes, I'm no different or better than any of the residents that are in my district. I just happened to have the opportunity and had the strength to stand up to be able to serve and represent the same residents. So the opportunity to really be able to impactfully and meaningfully add value to the residents by creating a economic opportunity for the entire community to thrive really drives a long way. So to answer your question, politicians do have a little bit of a trust deficit, shall we call it. But nonetheless, I think more importantly, and especially in a race like what I'm a candidate in, local elections affect us locally in a very, very big way. So my campaign is always it's not about politics, it's always about people. And as a good friend of mine always used to say, and I believe it wholeheartedly, it's not red or blue, it's red, white, and blue, because we're all Americans. And at the end of the day, we're all family, we're all connected in a community sense, in a traditional sense as well. And how do we help one another? How do we speak logically while still speaking from the heart and really be able to every person that we affect in a positive way? And that resonates it. And that's what I'm about. You've said in the beginning, politicians have a half a truth. The truth of the matter is, I'm not a politician. I'm a regular Joe, somebody who stood up because I'm seeing the suburban quality of life. I'm seeing my home, my community under attack by some of these policies and narratives that don't align at all with our community, that don't align at all with what I feel is what is our future and how we're going to thrive. I want to make our community not only great for us, but I want to make our community great for our children and their children. And that only starts with now. That literally starts with now, by stopping and having a voice, having a vote, and really coming out and speaking and engaging in politics, because otherwise we're at the mercy of whoever it is that's out there. And in reality, we have a lot more control and a lot more input than many people take for granted. Everybody needs to go out and vote. Everybody needs to learn about their candidates, regardless, obviously, what it is. You certainly know the narratives from one side or the other, but understand what the candidate is about, understand what their background is, understand what their experience is, understand what their knowledge, what it is that they can impart as a leader, as a politician, into the community. Will it help the community or will it hinder the community? There are some folks in this political realm that are concerned with their own political career and agenda rather than the people that they're meant to serve and represent. And that's important to recognize. And it's not very difficult to recognize it if you just look at their track record. You look at what they're about. You look at what they've truly been and what motivates them to be the candidate or politician. I'm purely here for the purposes of making sure that our community and our residents thrive, which in turn makes my family and my kids and their kids thrive in Nassau County. And that's what I'm really here for and what I'm about.
Brilliant. Thank you. Mukeshji, I will come to a very different question here with you, an inquiry. I'm not questioning you. We'll share your thoughts with us. All three of us are immigrants here. And I don't think anyone is anti-immigration here. But I have been hearing this comprehensive immigration reform ever since I came here in 1991. But no political party ever tries that. One thing which I do know, that from our point of view, the Indian point of view, we are 1.3 billion people, right? America is only 350 million people. And America is 3 times larger than India in size, with reasonably good infrastructure in place. So when the Republican Party talks about restricting immigration or making the immigration in a regulated fashion, whereas Democrats say, come one, come all, come anytime, come anywhere, what does it mean to us? What does it mean to us? Because it is an important question. It's like Long Island Expressway getting jammed. How do we address that?
Okay, so now, first of all, we have to understand, everybody, that even a lot of Republican, I'm sure they are also immigrant. And I don't understand, I'm sure they are trying to say that scan the people who's coming to this country. When Trump was there, like he always mentioned that please scan the people, not that we don't come to the country. I give a very good example. Like if you want to invite anybody at your home, like even the cleaning lady who comes to your house, you just make sure that cleaning people, who's coming to clean your house, they'll go within an hour or 2 hours. You make sure that persons are good. Those persons are their background is good. You make sure you take the reference from the people. That's how you allow them in your house. Why don't you allow the same thing to your country? Your country is your home. So they are trying to get the people who are good people, they do not have any criminal background. What going to do? What the criminal going to do when they'll come to this country? They're going to destroy it. So you want those kind of people? No. The Republican Party is saying, bring the people, but bring the good people. And here you cannot just bring everybody. Now, who's paying for everybody? The taxpayers, the people like us, they are paying for that. Now, so many people are coming from Afghanistan. I heard 95,000 people. Even 1% from that 95,000 people are bad people. It's 950 people. It only 3 people to do 9/11, right? 2 people to do the 9/11. Imagine 950 people. I'm talking 1% only. And we know the background of Afghanistan. We know the background of Pakistan. But again, we are not here to blame any country. Here we are talking about the immigrant. Yes, definitely everybody has a dream to come to America. That's why we came. And we do welcome everybody, but not to the criminals. I'm sorry, we cannot invite criminals at your house or at your home. They should be in jail. So with that, I want to say one more thing. The bail reform. What happened? None of the criminal can go to jail. I had a conversation with few officers and also with the police commissioner. Honestly, they don't like this because they catch the people, they put them in the jail, the next day they're out. And they go right in front of their eyes and they do the crime. After this bail reform passed, 3,000 criminal came out of the jail. And within 1 month, out of those 3,000, there was 9,000 crimes. So defunding the police, bail reform, they're not going to protect you. It's not good for people. It's not good for community. It's not good for the country.
I think I totally agree with you on that. You have made a very forceful point that, just because we are immigrants we don't have to support ridiculous immigration policy. That's the important part. And, gone are the days when we sought the unwanted, the hungry, poor, and tired. Times have changed. And now we need different kind of people. Not that we don't need people. We need different kind of people who fulfill the requirements of the country, whether it's in the farm, factories, or the hospitals, or the army, or wherever. We need different kinds of people. But Dan, I have another issue which definitely bothers me a lot. And that issue is about, India is one of the is the largest democracy in the world. We have 1.3 billion people. In 2019 elections, parliamentary elections in India, more than 650 million people voted. And each one of them had a voter's card, which authenticated their right to vote. Why are the Democratic Party making that as such a voting rights denial, when you want to enforce and bring about legitimacy in voting? Voting is a right of a citizen, and no non-citizen ought to be allowed to be voting, participate. It's a privilege to be a citizen. It's not a right to be a citizen. So I'm looking at it from this point of view, with a population of 350 million, and assuming 50% are voters, 175 million, of which 60% will be voting at any time, 90 to 80 or 100 million people voting. What prevents America, the greatest democracy in the world, to issue a voter ID? Why is that such a big issue with the Democratic Party?
In my opinion, it shouldn't be an issue at all. I mean, certainly a voter ID is important. There are so many opportunities and so many things that we go where, whether we go into into a store or we retrieve something, one of the first things we do is oftentimes they ask us for photo ID. You use a credit card. The first thing that oftentimes the store, the person behind the register asks is, may I see your driver's license? Why? Because they want to make sure that it authenticates that the individual that's in front of them, that is swiping the card, that is making the purchase, is indeed that person that the card belongs to. A vote is something of privilege, and it's an honor, as you said. And it's something that we all should hold sacred, because our election is our voice. And it's very important, I think, that it needs to verify for that the same individual that is presenting themselves in front before the election should be the same individual, and therefore have an ID showing that there are. And in fact, oftentimes our ID has a picture. Every single one of our driver's license, every single one, if we go to college, we have a driver's license, a picture rather. Voter cards don't have pictures. So how does one verify exactly who that individual is? Now, you would argue one way or another, and I think a lot of the narrative of the other side is to suppress and to keep a certain socioeconomic kind of individuals in one way or another. And as Mukesh said, back to the economy, it maintains and keeps them at the poverty level, as does this. However, there's also a percentage, and not, of the potential of voter fraud, right? Which will skew the amount of votes per person or per area or per district, whatever have you. That all becomes eliminated when there's voter ID. Is no longer in question. The person that's in front of the individual that's looking to place their vote, which again, I hold at the highest level of respect. You want to cast your vote, then the polling individual is going to just verify that you're that individual. It's your right to vote, but you have to show that it is you indeed. I wouldn't want that diluted, and I wouldn't want somebody casting a vote on my behalf when I'm not there, when I can't present an ID. And I think the voter's ID it's logical and it makes sense, and it's something that is critical to the authenticity of our elections.
Absolutely agree with you, because I say something very simple, that if India can do it and did it in a magnificent way, I had said it at that time when the voter ID was saying, I said, invite the Election Commission of India,
Right.
and they will tell you exactly how to do it. They may charge you some fee, which I'm 100% sure Americans can afford to.
Mhm.
If you can't do it, I find the politics of this part of it. But you know, earlier, Mukesh, you gave the example of the fishing and the fishing, giving a fish versus the fishing. I find I did make some, you know, I'm a very strong believer in political life because politics determines the quality of social life, because social life gets affected because of the legislations that are made. So it is very interestingly intertwined. And to that end, I find that the current levels of conflict that is between Republican Party and Democratic Party has made the social life very distressed. I'll give you an illustration. I was part of a study group in Manhattan where we used to do the strategic trend analysis, what's happening. And in that trend analysis, I was asked this question that America is going to dogs, President X or President Y is so bad. I said, listen, presidents come and go. Their policies can be reversed if any untoward decision has been taken. But what is important is how the structure survives all of it. And what is important in American context, that the structure of trust is very big. You trusted the system. Even at midnight or 2 a.m., we stop at the red light on the street, or we stop at a stop sign at a traffic place. Nobody's watching us. That's the beauty of this system that I love. And I tell this to my Indian friends. That's where you realize that how the system works. At the present moment, I'm looking at the Democratic Party is systematically trying to dismantle the trust factor by the vote bank politics that you alluded to, and by constantly attacking the rich. And I thundered in my mind that how many people came to remain poor by coming to America? How many people wanted to remain poor? Everybody wants to improve on his economic lot.
Sure.
So by blaming the very dream that we want to become well off, what kind of a sensitivity are you creating in the marketplace or in the minds of people? Dan, your thought on this?
So I'm happy you brought it up, because as Mukesh said, you know, the example of giving a man a fish, he'll eat for the day. Teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. You know, the narrative and the governmental giving of monies, whatever they may be, whether it's unemployment, whether it's benefits, actually, unbeknownst to the individuals getting it for a long period of time, actually is detrimental to their success. Because what it truly does is it maintains them at a poverty level. It doesn't give them the opportunity, nor the skill, nor the trade, nor the profession to work hard and excel beyond that. Look, we live in the land of opportunity. Anybody and everybody, if they're willing to put in the work, put in the time, become educated in whatever form that may be, and really excel, they can too become rich. And rich, by the way, it has different meanings for different people, but nonetheless, whatever rich it is that they feel, can certainly, they can attain it. But when they're constantly awaiting for a handout, they will continuously wait for the handout. And that's what leaves them at that plane of poverty all the time. And it actually serves them in a very, very ill manner. In fact, that's one of the things that, looking at the surplus, as we said, what is it that we can do here in Nassau County to make sure that there's economic stimulation and that the economy thrives? And doing so by, there's different measures of reducing tax of property tax that is honestly burdening our residents, and developing ways whereby the tax can be replaced by other means, but yet providing them with the tax relief. So that what ends up happening with economic kind of, with that kind of economic insurgence, is that you have businesses that will thrive in the process. then that leads to people that are then getting the, as I said, the workforce training, the trade, the profession. They're getting more jobs from these businesses and grow together. But what ends up happening? Then those employees, those new business owners, those business owners that are doing better, what are they doing? They're going out. They're spending more money. They're going to a Broadway show. They're going to a restaurant. They're spending on a car. They're spending on clothes. They're getting more, which then in turns provides for, more opportunities for them and their families to thrive. But yet it spins off a certain tax, in a sales tax and an income tax and in so many other taxes, that thereby it can replenish whatever the surplus was plus more. So my mindset is, rather than handing out money to keep people out of poverty, let's think of ways to keep money in people's pockets so that they can use it to thrive. They can use it for their family to really benefit from it. And the consequence of it is that it continues to roll and grow. So that's where the difference is, and the paradigm difference between the two mindsets. And it really is a mindset. And understanding that, where the Democrat mindset is giving a handout and keeping everybody at the same level of poverty, where the Republican mindset is, how can we stimulate the economy so that the economy becomes a machine that continues to grow, and thereby the individuals, the residents, the constituents, the businesses, all the players, all the stakeholders, including the government, grows in benefit from that. So that's the two different mindsets.
So the multiplier effect is remarkably important, because many a times when we talk with people with money, they say, my money, I'm happy with money in the safe under my pillow. And I said, well, it is just paper, because tomorrow it lost its value and somebody can steal it. All this, only when the money rotates, that it becomes. That's why you gave a wonderful example that 120 million in the pockets of people would have generated so much more activity by spending and taxation and the consequent results in productivity and more production. Mukeshji, I will come to the other side of the story. You are a businessman. You are a successful businessman. You are a movie maker. You have just won awards by making a movie called The Elevator. And congratulations once again from me on that success of yours. The point which I'm coming to you with is, politicians always go to every section of the community because they need votes to win the election. What must you, as one of the prominent members of the Indian community, expect from Dan? What is your expectation from Dan?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Okay. Thank you. You mean to say other questions were equally bad? I'm just kidding.
No, but this is of course, is my expectation is I would say expectation from everybody, a lot of people. Mm-hmm. We definitely want Dan. First of all, let me talk about Dan. I'm supporting Dan is only for one reason, that he's a family man. He understands the problems of every individual. He's not there, as he mentioned, is not for the politics, is there for the people. So I understand he has 2 kids and I understand what he's thinking. Of course, you and me and we all can survive whether anybody comes in the power, but what kind of country we are giving it to our children, our grandchildren. We want to secure their life and their coming generation so they have a great country. We came to this country just to make our dream come true. So of course, I would expect Dan to bring the changes, make the economy better, make sure that the taxes are getting lower and the people can make more money, because there's a saying, money makes money. So if you're keeping it in your pocket and keeping it in the safe box, it's not going to happen anything. You need to work on it. So as Dan mentioned, $120 million, which goes in people's pocket, they can do a lot of other things. I would expect the Dan to come up with some policies to bring the more business to Nassau County, make more people happy, and that's what bring the peace, bring the security, bring good kind of education. That's what I would expect from Dan.
Thank you. Thank you. Dan, as we are coming to the close of the program, I'll give you the last word. The last word refers to a very simple request from you. that several years ago, a senator once told me that we love you Indians as immigrants to this country. You are professionals, you are hardworking, you are in the highest median income in the country. You take care of your family, you take care of your children, you are not a law and order problem, and you ask for nothing. So here is what I'm going to ask is that, government machinery runs in its own way. If ever you come across any legislation or any action is happening, do let us know. That's one thing which I will ask from my point of view and on behalf of many, because we support the government, we love America just as we love India, and so our support is unflinching to American success. That's where we are successful, fulfilling our dream. So, your closing words to the Indian community here.
Yes. So I really love and appreciate the Indian community. I've gotten to know them significantly better and realizing that the family values, the community values are truly remarkable. They're a beautiful community of beautiful people. And my hope and intention that once elected, to become that voice for them, to become that additional voice whereby their concerns and their needs are met in the legislature here in Nassau County. And that's what I hope to do, certainly as once becoming elected. So it's exciting times and allow me to be that voice. Every vote counts and every voice counts. And it really is impactful to go out and vote. And early elections this year, it starts from October 23rd through the 31st, and then election day is November 2nd. It's important for everyone to come out and vote and have their voices heard, because it is truly our future at stake here. It is truly our kids' future at stake here. And we want to be able to live in the best environment, the best outcome, the best community that it could possibly be, and then leave that for our children, so for them to thrive and grow in a great way. And that's what I'm about. And that's my focus. It's not only my voice for the Indian community, but my focus is to make sure that our community, mutual community, and a whole community in the whole district of 16, which again consists of Old Bethpage, Plainview, Jericho, Old Westbury, Roslyn Heights, North Hicksville, South Syosset, and South Woodbury. The whole district is thriving and growing, and all of Nassau County for it. And that's my only agenda and my only motivation, is to do good for our community in a great way.
Thank you so much. You have addressed the issues very well, and hopefully you will come back again. Mukeshji, you want to say something?
Yes. So on behalf of, I want to give a message to every people who are going to watch this. Please vote. Please go and vote, because if you want to bring changes, as I mentioned, your life is set, but you have to look for your kids' life, your grandchildren life. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who may be traveling, and there are a lot of, like my son is he's out of town in the university studying. There are many people, many parents, their kids are out, so they can't vote. So they should register, they should get the absentee ballot. So I want to give that, votenassau2021.com. Please have your kids, or if you're traveling, go to votenassau2021.com, register yourself as absentee banner, get your absentee ballot, and then mail it out.
I love your appeal to the community to vote, and I believe in that same philosophy. If you don't exercise your right, you forfeit your right. Then you lose your opportunity to make yourself heard, seen, and being visible. So if you want to be visible, you want your voice to be heard, you have to exercise the principal tool of democracy, vote. Because if you don't, you forfeit your right. So with these words, I wish you well, Dan, and I wish you all the best on November 2nd. Let's have a party. And on a totally, without any bias, I invite the Democratic Party candidate who is opposing Dan. Come on my show, present your viewpoints, or any other Democrat who wants to share his thought process. You are welcome. You are invited without any encumbrance, no fear. So let's talk. And I want Indian community to get involved in your local elections. Your votes matter. Your future matters to you and to the community you live in. So with these words, I say adios. See you again next week. Have a great week ahead. And gentlemen, Mukeshji and Dan, lovely having you here.